Okay, Siobhan, you're one of the organisers here today. How's it been so far?
I think a resounding success. Just getting people here today, getting this level of discussion, getting this level of engagement in of itself means it's a success. We're very happy.
I see Jack O'Connor down there. The unions recently couldn't muster more than bare 1,000 people to storm the Dáil. You've got more people here in a hall talking today. What's different about today?
Well, just to say that the trade union movement are one of the organisers of this as well, are part of the organisation of it. So, and there's many trade unionists here.
No, but in fairness, you've touched into something. You got people to get out of their beds on a Saturday morning and give up their family life to come here and spend a whole day. What was it that made this attractive to people?
I think giving a space to talk about what we actually want for the future. So it's not reactive, it's not in opposition to anything, it's actually giving people a chance to have their voice heard and also to feel empowered to do something about their future. And that just seems to have lit a spark in so many people's kind of minds and hearts across the country. I mean, we could have filled this hall twice over.
You could have, yeah.
Easily, yeah.
When you sat down to plan this originally, did you know that Ireland was going to be economically in such a maelstrom of scrutiny?
Yes, because
international scrutiny and about to go under, go bankrupt, etc.
Well, at that level, no. But we did know going back several years, because organisations or groupings like the Community Platform, Féidir Linn, the trade union movement, have been saying for years that the premise on which the Celtic Tiger was based, the way the economic model of development was flawed and was going to collapse. And of course it did collapse.
Yeah.
So there's nothing new or nothing surprising in the space we find ourselves in. I suppose what is surprising is just the inability of the government to even consider alternatives to actually resolving the crisis, and I think that's deeply disappointing. People in this room, people involved in organising Claiming Our Future, we're doubly motivated to come together because there's so little space or so little interest from the kind of, the political kind of realm, the formal political kind of parties for real alternatives.
Okay, and in 2 years' time, if nothing happens, we could have another meeting here which would be based on the fear factor. Like at the moment, the economy has collapsed, but society has not collapsed. What is coming out of today that should make for a stronger society?
Well, what we would say is that there is equally a social crisis as well as a financial and economic crisis.
Is it as great?
I think it might be slightly behind because so much is dependent on resources, but it is as great because at the end of the day we live in society, not an economy. The economy supports the society, so that is the driving force for our discussions today, and we need to fix that. We need to fix the economy, make it work in the interests of society, not the other way around. And in fact, the discussion that's happening at the tables at this right now is all about that. How do you make the economy work in the interests of society, and coming up with very real options and real recommendations and ideas for that.
Do you think the elite or the people in power, the people who hold the most power in Ireland, are going to listen to the views expressed today?
I think they should be nervous.
You think they should be nervous?
Absolutely.
Why?
Because democracy needs engaged citizens, and what we haven't had or been allowed up to now is be engaged in decisions which affect all of our lives, have a critical voice and a critical mass of people who are coming together for change. And I think what something like Claiming Our Future is doing is actually creating a critical mass of people who are agreeing a set of policy priorities and a set of values which we're going to be taking. And
why didn't community development projects that were funded by the government to be a voice of the most marginalised and most disadvantaged get organised 5 years ago, along with other community sector representatives, to start advocating for a new Ireland when you saw this Ireland was in trouble?
Well, there's been many voices for a change.
So how come it didn't roll as a big movement back then and it is now?
Because
did we need to actually come to this?
Well, I think
threshold?
many of us would say this has been a long time coming and was badly needed years ago, but now it has happened now. And what's different
Why
about
are the Irish
this?
so slow then?
Well, no, what I would say is what's different about this is not the community sector. It's It is the community sector. It's the trade union movement. It's the environmental movement. It's our faith organisations, youth organisations, creative organisations, business people. So it's a civil society movement, and this is the first time civil society has come together in this way. Now, why it hasn't happened before, I don't know. There's been, there's probably lots of reasons why it didn't happen. The fact is, it's happening now, and that's what's so exciting.
Okay. Well, again, I was at a protest in Galway where 150 people came out to defend our communities. Where were the other 25,000 people from the West? Why didn't that type of protest attract them, and today's does? I know I keep coming back to the same question, but what little spark do you think you've set off today?
Well, I suppose all of those things in of themselves are really important and probably led to this point, even though they're disconnected in some ways. But I think people found it really hard, I think, to believe for a long time that that our voice wasn't being heard. It's hard to integrate that or understand that and realise that. And I think there's been a drip over the and a kind of a growing movement of people over the last year or two. And I suppose Claiming Your Future just happened to be able to harness that energy at a particular moment in time. So it's not about, why could we do it and nobody else do it. It's that, in fact, what we've done is built up to it, and in all our respective ways, between trade union actions and community sector actions. There's been the campaign for the arts. There's lots of different types of actions and groupings around the country doing what they want, what they're doing. What makes Claiming Your Future different, though, is not reacting to something. It's actually putting out an agenda for society. And that is the critical difference, I think, from some, demonstration or protests and stuff like that.
Okay, Changing Ireland is it's a small magazine relative to the mainstream media. Do you think you're going to get the mainstream media to buy into the messages coming out from today?
I think it will be difficult. I think the mainstream media are here. There's been a tremendous amount of reporting and coverage in the last few weeks, which I think is so welcome. And I think based on the discussions we have today, a clear agenda coming out of today, I think mainstream media will be interested in that. But that's our challenge. Our challenge is to create, I suppose, a critical mass of people who are very clear what we're for, and then use whatever means we can, obviously in a non-violent way, to be heard. And I think that includes being heard through mainstream media channels. But I think the more people who are saying the same thing and being clear about the values we want, being clear about the policy choices we want, the more likely to be heard.
Do you believe personally that people should consider taking direct action? Legal direct action, perhaps?
Will you ask me my personal opinion?
Yeah, your personal opinion.
I understand very well why individuals or groups can be forced into situations or feel that they have no choice but to take direct. Are you talking about civil disobedience type?
Yeah.
I can understand civil disobedience. I think at times it has its place.
Would you promote it? Have you participated in direct actions yourself in the past?
Civil society Claiming Your Future is not advocating breaking the law. I just want to be very clear about that. In my own personal capacity over the years, have I done things that have maybe come under the term of civil disobedience? Maybe borderline, I'd say. Yeah.
Okay.
Stopping evictions of traveller sites, taking on the guards to get them to think about, to get them to stop doing what they're doing.
And you think people should do more of that?
Well, I'm not.
Stand up for themselves. Like, you see, people feel powerless. We're based in Moyross. I don't know if Claiming Our Future will reach the people in Moyross, but they stand up for themselves in different ways.
Yes, I think that's what we're all challenged to find, I suppose, effective ways to stand up for ourselves and to have our voice heard and to be clear what it is we want. Because I think there's a huge disillusionment with the way society is going. But there's also a disillusionment with old tactics that don't actually change anything and use up a lot of energy. And then what really Claiming Your Future is harnessing is that sense of the possible, actually believing that change is possible. Because part of we're inflicted, I think, in this country and have been, because of the way in which we've been kept away from decisions and all that, we're inflicted with this idea that sometimes we can't change anything. What Claiming Your Future is saying is we can change.
Final question, do you see, just going around here today, any new leaders emerging?
Listen, I don't know 80% of the people in this room.
That's very healthy.
So that tells you where there's a new energy, there are new ideas, and I've been around a long time.
One worry I'd have, speaking of around a long time, the average age seems to be around the 40 mark. I don't see too many people in their 20s. Can you address that?
There's lots of people in their 20s and younger actually in the room, and there would have been, I'd say, at least another 100 people who would have been in their late teens and early 20s who couldn't register because they left it too late.
Okay.
One of the in the lead up to today, there was a fantastic workshop out in Ballyfermot in the base with 40 young people who all were supposed to be here. Only I think 10 of them are here, but the rest of them didn't register in time.
Okay.
So absolutely, young people are part of this movement.
Do you know what the next big event is?
No, we haven't decided. Part of the discussion today is to agree how we're going to move forward. So, but I'm pretty sure, based on the kind of feedback we're already getting, and already have checked in with the blogging and the tweeting and all of that, there's a very positive reaction. So I expect we'll be mandated to continue. And really, I suppose the most important thing is not big, kind of fancy events. It's actually getting it down and getting it local and making it real for people where they're at. And there's been already lots of that, and that's what needs to continue.
Okay, Siobhan O'Donohue, congratulations on
Thank you.
Good day so
Thanks
far.
very much.
You're welcome.